Kibutsuji Muzan heard a whisper on the wind, a rumor of a woman and her father living on a snowy mountain. The people themselves mattered little to him. What mattered was one small thing. The father in the rumors wore Hanafuda earrings. The thought of those earrings dragged up an old pain, an old memory inside of Muzan. Fear of a swordsman. That was reason enough that they had to die. He called his most powerful upper moon, Kokushibo, the upper moon one, who bowed when he arrived. Muzan spoke with a calm voice that chilled the room. "Go to Mount Kumatori," Muzan said. "Slay the family there. They wear your brother's earrings." "I shall," Kokushibo answered. He left at once. As he left the Infinity Castle, thoughts of his brother surfaced. Instinctively his hand moved to his throat. He sighed when he realized the fear he still felt after so many years. Kokushibo hid his true face. He masked the 4 extra eyes he had. He abandoned his flesh sword. Instead he reclaimed an old Nichiren blade he had thrown away years ago. He wanted to look human. He wanted to move unseen. He didn't know why. Something had compelled him to do so. The sword was heavy with history. Its handle was gold wrapped in a black cord. The guard was black, edged with a faint gold, and the blade's spine was dark. The edge gleamed purplish blue like night. Down the center ran a repeating pattern, small yellow circles that looked like moons. He traced that pattern once with a fingertip. Cold metal, dry leather, a faint scent of oil and iron. The blade had seen its years. It was worn down, looked almost abandoned. As Kokushibo walked, snow fell soft and steady, snapping him to the present. He had reached the mountain. The air bit at his lungs. The pine needles that were dusted with frost creaked under his foot. He liked this place. The trees blocked the sun a lot. That meant he could stop outside during the day without fear. He let himself imagine that for a moment. Then he remembered why he was there. He berated himself for a moment. Why I'm getting so distracted lately. Before continuing on his journey, he found a small wooden shack and knocked. Snow collected on the sill. His knuckles left damp marks that froze. "Is somebody there?" a voice called, calm, sweet. It hit him like a bell. For a heartbeat he stood still. Yes. Could I come in? "I'm traveling and it's dangerous at night," Kokushibo said, measured and quiet. "Hold on a minute." The voice retreated. Footsteps shuffled, then the door opened. There she stood before him. The cold made the steam of her breath curl. He had never seen a face quite like hers. Slender, pale skin, faintly flushed from the cold. Her eyes, dark red, caught him. They reminded him of his brother's. The sensation that rose in his chest was strange. A flash of anger. A softer tug. He could not name it. Her hair faded from black to red at the tips. A scar cut across her face, her forehead. It did not scare him. It made her look tougher. She wore no earrings. Muzan had lied. Then the rumors had lied, perhaps, Kokushibo thought. "Are you just going to stand there, or will you come inside?" she asked, her voice that warmed the room coming over him. There wasn't even an ounce of fear inside of her. He decided to step in. "Are you a samurai?" she asked, eyeing the sword at his hip. "Yes." He removed his shoes and set them neatly by the door. The wooden floor creaked under his weight. The house smelled faintly of charcoal and boiling tea. He was analyzing the place. He went against what he would always do, even though he himself knew this. "May I know your name?" he asked. The words left his mouth before he even realized. "Tanjiro Kamado," she answered, and asked his in return. He replied with an old human name, a name that once meant something, a name he had once abandoned. Michikatsu Tsuchikuni. She poured tea. The steam smelled of roasted leaves and winter. She offered him a seat and wrapped a blanket around his knees. They spoke through the long night. Kokushibo listened. He watched her hands, the small movements as she stirred, the way light from the heart lit up her cheek. He sensed no threat. The next morning, the world outside had been smothered in snow. He could venture out and still stay safe from the sun, seeing as the clouds were abundant. They talked through the morning. Tanjiro moved easily, fetching wood, setting a kettle, laughing softly. Kokushibo felt a weight lift from him. He spoke more freely than he had in years. Later he heard steps by the door. His hand found a sword without thinking, the handle beneath his palm holding a familiar warmth. "There's someone outside," he said, sliding into a guard stance. Tanjiro placed her hand over his. "That's probably my father," she said. "He goes out sometimes to sell charcoal." He relaxed a fraction. The door opened and something else moved faster than his thoughts. An old man stood in the doorway. He was 60, maybe more. His back was bent a little from years of carrying bundles of charcoal. His face echoed a likeness Kokushibo knew, like Yoruichi in an older mirror. The old man saw Kokushibo's shock before he spoke. "There's no need to be on guard here," the man said, and his voice was low and kind. "We're just a simple charcoal-burning family." He reached out and put a hand on Kokushibo's shoulder. The touch was rough from work. It steadied him. Kokushibo felt calm. He saw the Hanafuda earrings. They hung at the old man's ears. The earrings were his target. They pulled on something bitter inside Kokushibo. He watched the old man move. The speed in that motion had startled him. A quiet, steady strength. An uncanny resemblance to his brother Yoruichi. "Stay a few days," the old man suggested. "It will snow hard this week. Even a samurai would have trouble on those paths." He went to the pantry, his hands smelling of ash and sap, and set out some rice. Kokushibo stayed. The man's likeness to Yoruichi made him uneasy, but there was no rage in the old man's eyes. He had shown no malice towards Kokushibo, so Kokushibo waited and watched. Days turned into months. He lingered at the Kamado home. He made excuses about a skin disease when the sun slid through the door. The family accepted it. The house filled with small domestic sounds, the clatter of wood against stone, the hiss of water, the soft tap of a child's feet. He learned the rhythm of life. He and Tanjiro grew close. Light slipped into places he had kept dark. They married and the years folded over them. A child came, a boy. They named him Tanjiro. Tanjiro was different from the first breath. He had a mark on his body when he was born. One half of the mark mirrored his grandfather's, the other half sat on his neck and echoed his father's. The baby cried, then fell into a deep sleep with a faint scent of milk and straw around him. At first they feared sunlight would harm him, like his father's condition, but the boy ran outside into the wide world and laughed. That smile touched Kokushibo's heart, as if the words his brother had spoken to him so many years ago played a string that was unstrung. Kokushibo cried as he smiled at his son. Tanjiro grew exceptionally fast. He wasn't quite human, but not a demon either. The sun touched his skin and did nothing. He healed quickly from small scrapes or cuts. Once, when he fell on a sharp stone, the cut sealed in a breath. His strength was shocking. At 4 he could lift logs that would stagger 2 grown men. The family's murmurs were soft with awe. Kokushibo watched, a strange pride swelling inside of him, feelings he didn't quite know how to process. Years moved on. The house grew noisier. Nezuko came, then Takeo, Hanako, Shigeru, and Rokuta. The old man, the grandfather, kept a small ritual. Each winter he performed the Hinokamikagura in the snow from dusk till dawn. The dance smelled of smoke and cinder. Kokushibo observed it, always. It was a practice that taught breathing. He let Tanjiro watch. The boy tried to mimic the steps and soon learned. The grandfather taught him breathing. It felt like passing a light from one hand to another. Kokushibo had seen the original firsthand and even corrected Tanjiro on breathing and the moves, remembering all of his brothers. Never in the long years Kokushibo had been alive had he thought that he would be teaching someone his brother's techniques, yet here he was. Of course, his pride couldn't let that go. Kokushibo taught Tanjiro sword work. He taught him moon breathing and explained to Tanjiro that the dance his grandfather used was similar to his moon breathing technique, but that it was called sun breathing. Like two sides of a coin, Tanjiro repeated with a smile. Kokushibo was stunned. He hadn't really thought about it like that before. He smiled and said, "Yes, like two sides of a coin. It's up to you to master both." He patted the boy's head. The boy erupted in cheer. One day, whilst practicing, they fought. The metal sang under their practice. Tanjiro listened with the patient focus of the gifted. His nose was incredible as well. With his heightened senses and the techniques his father had taught him, he could hold up quite well against his father. By 7, he was already beyond what many students reached in a lifetime. Kokushibo compared him quietly to a hashira, not a modern one, but one from his time. Sorrow crept in. When Tanjiro was 10, his mother grew frail. The mark that had always been on her forehead ate away at her life. She died 2 years after Rokuta's birth. The home was heavier. Not even a year later, the grandfather passed away too. No parent wants to bury their child, and the grief had heavily taken a toll on the old man's health. Tanjiro grieved but held steady. He carried charcoal down the mountain, the heavy baskets rubbing at his shoulders. He recounted the stories his grandfather had once told him about demons, wild tales that made the night less empty. Tanjiro took the Hanafuda earrings from his grandfather and began performing the Hinokamikagura each new year. He did it to honor the fire god, for a great harvest and to keep the grandfather's memory warm. Kokushibo watched him. He felt pride in watching his son perform the dance. Simultaneously, he felt sadness. He wanted to say words, but they died out. Words that he wanted to say to his younger brother. Tanjiro worked extremely hard. His swordsmanship had developed to a point where Kokushibo thought he could go toe-to-toe with at least Akaza. His nose could catch a scent from a distance that made Kokushibo blink, further than his own senses. All their senses were sharp, but Tanjiro's, he was on a new level. Sometimes the boy would cock his head and wrinkle his nose. "You smell funny," he'd tease his father. Kokushibo would laugh and change the subject. He kept the demon stories at arm's length. He feared what would happen if Tanjiro ever guessed the truth. 2 years passed easily. The family grew tighter. Tanjiro wore half of his father's Aori. Kokushibo wore the other half of Tanjiro's. It was a small, visible bond. Kokushibo gave Tanjiro his old katana, the one he had used to meet the boy's mother, the one he had used all those many years ago when he stood alongside his younger brother. The boy accepted it with reverence and began training every day, honing his skills to the extreme. That winter felt like the happiest the Kamado home had seen since their loss. Laughter mixed with the crackle of embers. Grief sat in corners but did not rule the room. Then Muzan's voice reached Kokushibo. "Come now," it commanded. That night Kokushibo left. Kokushibo touched Tanjiro's shoulder as he left, the boy being sleepy-eyed and solemn. "Protect our family while I'm gone, okay?" Kokushibo bowed to his son. Tanjiro smiled, still half asleep. Of course, that's what you trained me for, isn't it? Kokushibo returned the smile. Kokushibo found himself in the Infinity Castle, cold stone and strange light. Other upper moon demons clustered about. At the center, Muzan waited. His presence a stark contrast compared to his homes, cold and heavy. It has come to my attention that you have failed. Muzan's voice was like a blade. Kokushibo. The other demons shuddered as the pressure increased. They are dead, Master, Kokushibo said. The woman and her father, I do not understand. His voice held strain. He kept his hands steady. You did not kill the children, Muzan said. He'd left the room. The word children landed like a stone. Kokushibo frowned. The children, Master, he asked. I saw your memories, Kokushibo. Muzan's hand moved in a flash. He grabbed the left side of Kokushibo's haori, the half that was Tanjiro's. His grip tightened. What was his name again? Right, Tanjiro. Muzan's eyes were cruel and bright. The evidence is right here. Master Muzan, Kokushibo said. You want me to kill my own son? The idea made something inside of him flare. In the past, he would have had no thought about it, but something was different now. There was a love for his family that he couldn't abandon. They are offspring of that devil, Muzan said, assuming they were related to Yoruichi. His tone was colder than the grave. Either you turn them into demons under my control, or they die. Kokushibo moved, in a motion so quick it blurred. He severed Muzan's arm. Not from pain, but from insult did Muzan scream. It split the silence. Kokushibo stood with the sword in his hand, and Muzan's blood on the blade. His face was a storm of rage. I will follow you, Kokushibo said hard and low, but you leave my children out of this. They will not be part of your plan. You dare. Daki's voice rose, like a cutting wind. She glared at him. Muzan raised a hand to quiet her. Kokushibo's power matched Muzan's enough that Muzan did not want to lose such a subject. You have 1 year, Muzan said. Change them into demons, or I will kill them myself. His voice carried absolute command. Kokushibo nodded. He said nothing more and returned to his family. The house smelt the same, rice and wood. But something in it had shifted. He stood in the doorway and watched his sleeping children. Their breaths were small clouds in the cold air. Tanjiro's chest rose and fell steady as a drum. He had made his choice. He could not bring himself to turn them into monsters under Muzan's hand. The thought of them twisted and bound to Muzan's will made his stomach hollow. He thought and thought and thought, letting the cold bite the edges of his plan, and then reached a conclusion. He would buy time. He would shield them. He would find a way. Kokushibo had made his choice, but even choices sometimes waited. Tomorrow, he thought. Tomorrow could be a day of action. Tomorrow could be a day of decision. But tomorrow stretched into next week. Weeks bled into months, and eventually a full year passed. One crisp morning, Tanjiro gathered with his family before setting out to sell charcoal. Snow still clung to the mountain's paths, crunching softly under his boots. He paused, looking back at his father. Kokushibo's eyes held a shadow. It'll be alright, father. After all I learned from you, and you're the best, Tanjiro said, his smile being so warm. It reminded Kokushibo of something that he hadn't seen in a long time. Sunlight. The sun. It reminded him of his younger brother. That smile brought comfort to a father who carried so much darkness. He smiled back at Tanjiro, and Tanjiro departed. He started his track down the mountain. The air smelled of pine and snow, and white blankets covered the trees. His limbs bowed under the frost. He wanted to pause and drink it all in, but the day's tasks called him. He had promised Nezuko a new dress, and he made sure to keep his promises. The village lay nestled at the mountain's base. Smoke rose in thin trails from chimneys. Tanjiro was greeted instantly by villagers he had helped before. His reputation had spread. His sharp senses had saved livestock. He had found lost children and even guided merchants safely down treacherous paths. People smiled, waved. Children ran to him. His sense of smell picked out who needed aid first. An old man struggling with sacks of rice. A broken face that betrayed the culprit being a cat. He helped freely, expecting nothing in return, like always. But like always, the people helped out, and they would buy charcoal. Time passed unnoticed. Sunlight dipped behind the mountains, and night began to draw its shadow across the village. Tanjiro prepared to return home when an elder called him over. Warm light spilled from the doorway, and the scent of simmering stew drifted out. After a brief discussion and argument, Tanjiro accepted the elder's hospitality. The elder was afraid that Tanjiro would get hurt on such a dark night. Meanwhile, back at the Kamados residence, Kokushibo prepared dinner. The scent of simmering stew filled the home. His family sat at the table, chatting softly. "Food's ready," Kokushibo said, placing the pot carefully on the table. "Stew again," Takeo grumbled, making a face. "Be grateful, Takeo," Nezuko chided gently, tonguing at his cheek. "If it weren't for Father and Tanjiro, we'd be eating scraps." Kokushibo chuckled, surfing each child. Hanako dug in, enjoying the meal more than she should. Her eyes lit up. Takeo, being so stubborn, still tried to hide his enjoyment, and it made Kokushibo laugh. Handing Rokuta to Nezuko for feeding while he opened the door for the expected visitor. After all, there was a knock. But the shock froze him mid-step. It wasn't Tanjiro. It was Muzan. The air grew heavy. Muzan stepped inside, uninvited. He grinned. "So this is your family, Kokushibo," Muzan said. His gaze roamed over the children. "Adorable. Have you changed them yet?" His eyes gleamed red. Kokushibo bowed, trembling slightly. "No, Master, please. They are children. They have nothing to do with your plans." Before Muzan could respond, Takeo stepped forward, pointing a trembling finger. "Who are you? Why are you in our home?" Muzan's grin widened. "Brave, aren't they? Or perhaps you've never told them the truth." Kokushibo fell to his knees, putting himself between Muzan and his children. "Master Muzan, I beg you, do not do this." But Muzan ignored him. In an instant, Kokushibo's true form was revealed. 6 eyes, sharp teeth. The children gasped, frozen. Rokuta cried outright. Nezuko then grabbed the knife from the table as she trembled. Muzan's voice cut like ice. "You failed to discipline them. How pathetic, Kokushibo." He raised his hand. Muzan's cells surged through Kokushibo's body as the pain ripped through him. Blood seeped from his nose and ears. Takeo ran forward to shield him, shouting, "Stop hurting my father." Kokushibo felt touched, that even though his appearance was that of which could make many tremble with fear, His son would stand between him and a monster, but when he looked up to see his son's brave face, he was only met with horror. Muzan had smashed Takio's head from his body. Blood sprayed to the floor. Kokushibo's heart roared in fury, but he could not move. The cells held him prisoner. Children that don't know their place don't deserve to live, Muzan said coldly. He moved towards the others, dropping Takio's head beside Hanako and Shigeru. Tears streamed down Hanako's face. Shigeru froze in terror. So will you become my subordinates or not? Muzan demanded. No one answered. Fear and hopelessness clung to them. Muzan's claws gleamed. He touched Hanako, forcing his blood into her. The transformation twisted her, merging human and demon into a grotesque monstrosity. Kokushibo screamed, tears streaming down his face. Stop, please. His body moved, being ripped apart from inside. As he tried to stop Muzan, but Muzan only mocked him. Hanako's life ended in a mess of flesh and rags. Kokushibo's chest ached, a pain unlike any he had known. Muzan turned to Shigeru. Help us, the boy whispered before dying. Kokushibo surged against his restraints. A blade pierced Muzan. This angered him. In an instant they were outside. They clashed as the forest trees shattered around them. Each strike brought Muzan memories of Yoruichi. Kokushibo had mastered the Hinokami Kagura in secret, each movement precise, terrifying in its perfection. Although he couldn't actually use the breathing, he imitated it to a higher level using his moon breathing and his blood demon arts. Run, Kokushibo screamed at Nezuko and Rokuta. They bolted, but Muzan retaliated. Cells in Kokushibo's body weakened him. The demon threw him aside. Nezuko and Rokuta were pierced before stepping out. Interesting, Muzan said, pouring blood over Nezuko. I'll spare your oldest daughter. Now where is Tanjiro? Despite pain and blood, Kokushibo rose, his stance firm. His eyes burned with willpower, reminiscent of Yoruichi. They fought again, devastating the forest. Muzan eventually forced Kokushibo unconscious and started dragging him to the Infinity Castle. Where do you think you're going? A voice rang out. It stung colder than the mountain air. Muzan turned, but as he did, he saw a blade going for his neck. Hinokami Kagura. Solar heat haze. Muzan grasped his neck. The blade had cut through. His healing instantly healed him, even as the blade was going through. Yet the burning feeling he felt left him shivering. He had looked up to see Tanjiro, now holding his father's unconscious body. Tanjiro's resemblance to Yoruichi was uncanny. Suddenly, Tanjiro awoke. It was a nightmare. Thank God, he thought, but he smelled blood. Sharp, metallic, familiar. His heart raced. Sprinting up the mountain, he arrived in less than 40 seconds. The scene froze him. Nezuko and Rokuta lay wounded. The rest of his family gone, pools of blood marking the entrance. The scent of his father lingered. Foul, powerful, overwhelming. He heard a faint breath coming from his sister. He grabbed Nezuko and started descending down the mountain. The ruined forest stretched around them. Kokushibo's smell was near, but nowhere to be seen. Father, I hope you're all right, Tanjiro whispered. Nezuko squirmed on his back, making them fall down the slope, but he saved them both. She awoke frightened. Tanjiro, what happened? She asked, clawed hands trembling. I don't know. Everyone, they're dead. Fathers, missing. His voice cracked. Nezuko had changed. She was taller, teeth sharp, claws extended. What's happening? I hear a voice, its distance so annoying. but she resisted Muzan's control, growing stronger from his blood. It's then that a sword came for her. Tanjiro blocked it effortlessly. A man with dark bluish hair stood before them, his sword raised. "Why protect that demon?" the man demanded. "She's my sister, she's not a demon." "Who are you?" Tanjiro replied in a short tone, angry. "I'm Giyu Tomioka of the Demon Slayer Corps," the man said, his crow spoke, questioning. Giyu paused, realizing Tanjiro wasn't officially part of the Corps. The crow spoke of Tanjiro's sword, which made Giyu think he might have stolen it from a fallen slayer. "This sword was a gift from my father," Tanjiro said, stance solid. Giyu's eyes studied it. None of the stances matched what he knew. "She's a demon. She will have to die before she eats anyone," Giyu declared, rushing at Nezuko. "She's my last sibling. I won't let you harm her." Tanjiro took a breath. Moon breathing. Third form. Loathsome moon chains. 2 giant slashes split into many, forcing Giyu back. Tiny cuts open across his body. Nezuko interrupted. "Cut it out," she screamed. "Father said never hurt those who haven't done anything wrong to you." Her voice was stern but calming. It was a teaching that Kokushibo had heard from Yoruichi, and he decided to pass it down to his children. She healed Giyu with a touch. Flames of restorative energy licked his body. "Even as a demon, you don't crave blood," Giyu said to her. "That breeding style doesn't exist. But it shows something. You two are remarkable in your own rights. You should become a demon slayer and fight the one who killed your family," he said, his tone quick and to the point. He instructed them to seek Sekonji Orokodaki on Mount Sagiri. Sunlight pierced briefly, but it was harmless to Nezuko, which made Giyu quite surprised, because she's a demon, but yet the sun didn't hurt her. Tanjiro buried his family, then set off with Nezuko, and along the way they defeated a demon at a shrine, and then buried the monks the demon had killed. "Are you Tanjiro Kamado?" asked an older man with a red Tengu mask. "Yes. Are you Sekonji Orokodaki?" The man nodded. "Good work," the old man said, patting Tanjiro on the head. "Follow me." They ran up to Mount Sagiri, and when they arrived, Orokodaki led them to the top of the mountain. Tanjiro's speed matched the old man's. At the top, Orokodaki challenged him. "Reach the bottom before morning, and you will be accepted." When Orokodaki eventually returned to his hut, he saw Tanjiro already there, preparing some tea. Tanjiro waited, patient. Orokodaki was very impressed. Nezuko arrived a bit later. "Outstanding," Orokodaki said, patting them both. "Training starts tomorrow." Days became 2 weeks. Tanjiro had no need to learn water breathing, but he learned all water breathing forms and continued mastering the Hinokami Kagura and moon breathing. Nezuko, though a demon, mastered her training slowly. She took 1.5 years to cut her rock. Tanjiro's body allowed him to move with inhuman precision. Moon breathing, water breathing, Hinokami Kagura, all mastered. Tanjiro, after 3 weeks, was allowed to take the final selection. He passed through Wisteria in the final test. Nezuko, allowed by special permission, was allowed to take hers 2 years later, since her training took 1.5 years and it took 6 more months for the final selection to start. It took her 2 years to take part in it. Both excelled, Aura alone intimidating others. Tanjiro used a black mask, one he had gotten from Orokodaki. One eye had a moon-like icon over it, and the other a sun-like. Nezuko had her mask and a katana. They easily overcame demons. Both of them took the test on different dates, but both of them were already a level beyond any normal slayers. Tanjiro killed every single demon on the mountain, even a large grotesque one. He saved many lives, including those of a young girl. He survived. The twins complimented him. He was fitted for his Demon Slayer uniform. When another participant harassed a twin, Tanjiro intervened by simply staring at the man down. Finally, they chose ores for their Nichiren blades. Tanjiro suggested his father's blade be melted with his ore. The twins hesitated and then allowed it, mainly due to the crow reporting his actions over the past week. He returned to Rokodaki's home, who shed tears of pride, alongside his sister who congratulated him. And that is the end of part 1. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am a little sick at the moment, and it took a while to get the video out. I'm feeling a lot better than I was, and well, because of the delay and all that, I thought, hey, maybe now is a good time to record it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a bit of a different writing style, I know, but I liked it more. As you guys probably know, the ones who have watched the original Kokushibo What If, a lot of parts got cut out. It's to make it a little shorter because I always tend to go in my writing a bit over detailed. Especially in the old one, I think I literally went over the entire training and all that, and it was like, yo, so he got this, that in his training. So I kind of dialed that down a little. But I also added events that didn't happen in the original. Some of you might know, some of you might not know. Anyway, there's 4 more parts after this one, ending on part 5. And then I promised in the old What If, when I did the old movie, I promised that I would give a bit more backstory if it hit a certain amount of likes. And I never ended up doing that. So now I've decided I'll do that in this movie. I already have the backstories, so I'll add it to the next movie of What If Tanjiro was Kokushibo's son. I think it's a bit too much for me to currently record everything in one go and then just upload a movie, so I'm still gonna do all the parts and then I'll upload it after like compressing it. But I don't want to have you guys waiting like 2-3 weeks, so in the meantime I'll just release the little bits of it so you guys can watch it and, I don't know, maybe enjoy it. Well, with that all out of the way, I wish you all a good day, a good week, and yeah. I'm Edward from... I haven't actually made an outro for this yet, so I'm just simply Edward, and I'll see you guys the next time.